Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Lucid. We're doing part 2 of our national overview for the nation Bandar log. We spent 27 minutes in the first episode talking about all of our national troops, so if you missed that, go watch it, and we'll talk about all the troops you can recruit right at the beginning. Now we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about all the summons you can get. And there are a lot. You get all the monkey summons, which Kalisa gets in the early age. You also get all of the blood summons, which Lanka gets in the early age. And then you also get all of the Naga summons, which Patala gets. So you get tons and tons and tons and tons of summons, and a lot of them are really, really good. Some of them are the best units in the game. Yeah, so there's a lot of good things, but they're also pretty expensive or hard to get. Like, you have the blood summons, but you don't have blood access. So it's tricky. We'll talk about it though. We're going to start with the monkey summons. And we will do them, I think, in the correct order here. So for the Astral Summons, you get Apsaras and then Gandharvas. And these are units here. So these are... Let's start with these guys. These are the first ones. The Apsaras, they are... we'll talk about their cost real quick. It's 3 pearls for 3 of them, so they're 1 pearl per. And we're going to do the Gandharvas next, so I'll go ahead and tell you. It's 3 pearls for each one of these guys. But it's more mage turn efficient. So these are the 1 pearl per. And importantly, they have standard, they have very high defense, and they have awe. So they're not likely to get hit, but if they get hit, they're probably going to die. They do have a fair amount of HP, so they can probably survive, let's say 1 hit. They don't do a ton of damage. The real way to think about these guys is they're a rather cheap standard effect that can help toughen up a line. They also have good morale. So just adding them to a troop with low morale, they'll raise the base average morale for the troop. And then they also have a standard effect. So pretty good to toss these in with monkeys, who have really horrible morale. Next we have the Gandharvas. And these guys are really good troops. They're expensive. 3 pearls per isn't super cheap. And yeah, they have great HP. They have pretty high protection. Pretty good attack and defense. Great magic resistance. And then they have 2 attacks, a Falchion for a lot of damage, a kick, and then we saw the armor. They also have a standard effect, so you can toss a few of these in to stiffen up your lines. And they have awe, which is quite nice, and of course they're sacred also like the Apsaras. But the awe combined with decent defense and protection will be pretty good if they are in and amongst other troops. They are unlikely to die. If they get surrounded, though, you will find they die reasonably well, or reasonably quickly, depending on the bless you take. So, that is the first swath of troops. Next, we're going to talk about some commanders now, the Kinara and the Sita. So, the Kinara is this one. And these guys are pretty cool. Oh, we didn't talk about cost. Cost is important. These are 25 gems, and the second one we're going to talk about is 35 gems. So, these guys are cool for a few reasons. One is they're astral and holy. And one of the problems you have with this nation is you don't have very good ways to buff your sacred troops. To bless your sacred troops. These guys, for only 25 pearls, they can now jump into communions, and they can get up to holy whatever you want. And this actually is quite useful, because if you have, let's say, 100 sacreds, like white ones you're bringing to battle, and you want to bless them all, you don't want to have 20 crappy die-in-one-hit priests spamming out bless. You want to do divine blessing, and this is your most reliable way to do it early in the game. So in terms of how many gems you're going to have to spend to do divine blessing, I don't think you can come up much better than this. Because this guy basically just enters a communion with other Astral Mages, and boom, you're done. He also gives you good air magic, which can be useful to cast things like Wind Guide, Arrow Fend, and Fog Warriors. So yeah, quite nice. The Sita, which I think is this one, is basically like the other one. So it's 10 more gems, but he gets Holy 3 to start. So you may choose to get this guy over the other one. He also can move 100 provinces by himself, and he uses teleport, which means he doesn't care about terrain at all. So he can basically just pop up anywhere. It's kind of like a non-magic phase teleport, which is pretty awesome. Oh, well, let's talk about this guy again. He gets awe, and he's flying, normal map move. I think he's leadership 55, inspirational +1. This guy, a little better awe. Yeah, that's basically it. So the nice thing, they can do a turn 1 Divine Blessing, which may be something you're interested in doing. They don't have to enter a communion, but they can, and they're slightly higher in Astral. For the mobility, you could say it's worth it. Basically, it depends how quickly you're going to be moving these guys around, whether it's worth paying an extra 10 gems for the Sita versus the Kanara. So anyway, that's kind of a judgment call. I don't think one is strictly superior. It's kind of depending on what you need. Next, we are going to continue talking about the Astral Summons. We get the Devada, the Devala, and the Rudra. We're going to talk about each of them, but the costs are 45, 55, 55. So the Devala is... is it Devala or Devada? Devada, excuse me. The Devada is Air 3, and Holy 3, and Shock Resistance. So this guy can do some fun stuff. Yeah, he can... Honestly, okay, I mean, for 45, I would probably get the other guy because they have more mobility. I mean, this guy's a beast, right? So if you want to have... Yeah. I mean, you could use him for cloud trapezing on top of dudes and then kit him, and he will kind of murder them because he has 4 arm slots. So I would say this guy's more thug territory, and then you can put a few gems on him to cast Ritual of Returning, and he'll zap out. Yeah. I would say this guy is basically a thug. Now, you can do thug stuff with this guy, and this guy can cloud trapeze. And he can probably kill a lot of stuff if you gear him properly. But this guy just has way better base items. And better stats. So if you're going to be cloud trapezing somebody in, why not... Like, this guy's naked. You're going to have to put stuff on him. You already start with good armor. And you have way more hand slots. So you could, for example, put a shield on him, and he's still going to have 3 weapons. So I would use this guy primarily for thugging and counter raiding. And I would use, if you're going to have him sitting behind an army, there's really no point to get this guy, when instead you could get the Sita or the Kanara. Next, we get to the Devala. And this is kind of interesting. So this unit spreads magic, so it increases magic scales. It spreads Dominion, which is kind of cool if you're fighting a Dominion battle, but... and it's very rare. You don't see many units with this. This essentially gives you a free candle check, which it can be a very powerful mechanic if you're trying to dom kill somebody, but you're just never going to have enough of them where this is going to be significant. So it's cool, it adds flavor. If this were cheaper to get, or you could get it on more units, it would be more impactful. But on a 55 Pearl unit, this is not going to really matter much. You get Astral 3 and Holy 4. It's not really clear what you're paying 55 gems for here. I mean, Holy 4, you already have Astral Mages that can... I mean, Astral Priests, which can jump into communions. And you can cast whatever thing you want. Which, by the way, actually, Fanaticism is not a bad spell, especially for your monkeys. Basically, it will give Sermon of Courage to all your monkeys, which on bad morale troops is not bad. So if you can get up to Holy 4, you can do that. But you can do Holy 4 with just having this guy and 4 Communion Slaves. So yeah, it's not very clear when you would ever want to summon these guys. Most importantly, the reason you'll never want to do that is because for that same 55 pearls, you can get this guy, the Rudra, or however you say it. Fire 3, Death 3. Oh, it doesn't have all. I thought it had all for some reason. But Fear 8, Shock and Fire Resistance, which are both really, really good. It has Storm Power and Storm Immunity, so you can cast Storm and this guy can still jump around killing everything. It has a negative Forge bonus, so you don't want to make items with this guy if you can help it. You can still forge things, it's just going to be more expensive. He sucks at researching, 5 research, so you basically get this guy to go fight. He has very good weapons, the Apotropaic Sword, however you say it, Kick, Plague Bow, which is kind of cool, gives disease, and then he can throw lightning bolts. Pretty good vanilla weapons, and then good armor, etc. Importantly on paths, though, he can Cloud Trapeze. He has Death 3, which allows him to do Invulnerability and Soul Vortex, so if they don't have magic weapons, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And then this allows him to do Fire Shield and Phoenix Pyre, which will basically, when combined with Soul Vortex and any kind of decent items, like put a Vine Shield on him, yeah, it's... And maybe like a Bloodthorn, if you've broken into blood or something like that, or like the death sword, whatever it's called, Wraith Sword, which gives you the life draining effect. That combined, I mean, you just can't kill him. It's almost impossible. So, very, very strong super combatant. One of the best super combatant chassis in the game, if for no other reason, just from the fact that he has 4 arm slots. I mean, 4 arm slots are so good. They're so good. He only has 1 miscellaneous slot, so that's not great, but arm slots are better than miscellaneous slots, especially on a super combatant. Very, very good. Also will take whatever benefit you have from your Bless. This guy's just amazing. The thing you kind of have to worry about is they can get Mind Hunted if you use him as a true solo force. But, yeah, Mind Hunting's kind of a problem. So you probably don't want to use him as a Cloud Trapezing, kill a whole army guy against the nation with pretty good astral magic. But you can also have him in part of your main force, and if you put Storm up, which you certainly have the ability to do, he'll jump around and kill everybody. Anyway, very, very cool. Oh, also flying, which is important because he has pretty high map move. So you don't even need to Cloud Trapeze. And that gets us through just the monkey units. Just the monkey units. And we're 13 minutes into this. So next we get to the Naga units. You get... Okay, here we are. You can do Summon Nagas, which are sacred. They get a ton of attacks. They get a Spit Poison, and then they get a Hypnotize. And then they have 2 attacks in melee. So a lot of times what you'll do is you'll put these guys on fire, and they'll do their Hypnotize and Poison. And then once they're done, they run into combat, and they're pretty strong in combat. So, yeah, good troops. They can definitely take you underwater, but you'll need a fair amount of nature gems. The cost for this is 20 gems gives you 6 Nagas, which is not super cost efficient. It's like almost, or it's yeah, about 3 per. And if you think about it, to have like a good expansion party underwater, you'd probably want like 60 gems worth, though you could get underwater probably for less. Especially if you can bless them. So you probably want to find different stuff to go underwater because you would rather put your water gems into better commander summons, most likely. So we're now going to talk about all of the Naga Mages. The first is the Nagini. the Nagaraja, and then finally the Nagarishi. And the costs are 25, 30, 40. So let's look those up. This is the Nagaraja. And all of these can change shape. They have a land form and then a Naga form. The Naga form gets higher water. And I think it has more HP too. Yeah. So if you have this guy in combat and they die, they will switch to the Naga form and then they kind of have another shot at life, which is kind of cool. This one, you don't have boot slot. Well, you can change it. So basically, if you do this, you can have boot slots and you put this on them and then they can be, you know, Earth power and they can get all the way up to Earth 3. But basically, you're going to need 10 Earth gems for the boots, and then you can get up to Earth 3, and then you can do a lot of the fun Earth stuff. Or you can do water stuff if you stay like this, and they can, you know, take a water bracelet amulet, which gets them up to water 3. I'm not a huge fan of water in combat, unless you're underwater, but if you're underwater, water is pretty awesome. Next, we have the Nagini, which is basically the same as the other one, except one higher water path. And this one actually has some armor, but this one doesn't. And I think that's about it. And then, yeah, basically the same deal. And they're pretty close in terms of cost, right? Because this one was, the first one was 25 and this one's 30. So you're basically paying 5 more water gems to lose the armor and gain a water path. So these guys are far better in combat, but these are kind of better mages underwater. So if you're going to go fight underwater and you're going to do like water elemental spam or something like that, you probably want these instead. And yeah, they can also change shape. I don't know if we covered this one. I think this is, yeah, we didn't actually cover all of the... We left out some very important monkey summons, but we're going to finish the Naga ones real quick. This is the best of the Naga summons, and this one's awesome, right? You get, I mean, 9 magic paths on a mage for 40 gems. That's ridiculous. Earth and Astral are good. The only problem with this one, they can be sniped by Magic Duel, which would be very, very unhappy. But yeah, they can also change shape where you lose 1 water. But yeah, pretty damn good. Earth 3. Earth is really important for this nation because you want to be doing Strength of Giants a lot and then Destruction and stuff, which is going to kill enemy armor. So you want Earth Mages. This is a pretty water gem efficient way to get it, though you do have to worry about this Astral path if you're fighting Astral nations, because they will definitely love to snipe you with Magic Duel. That would be a super cost-efficient trade for like an Astral 1 guy to try Magic Dueling this guy. But quite good. If you're going underwater, I don't know how important this extra Earth is. If your goal is to take people underwater, you probably want the 30 water gem dude rather than the 41. Yeah, but in general, if you have the gems and you... This is a far better mage. The only problem here is the Astral. So it kind of depends, but yeah. Before we go on to the blood summons, which are cool, but you may or may not actually get to use them in a game, we're going to talk about the nature conjuration summons. And first you can get some animals. We'll just look at those real quick. You get elephants, which are basically tramplers. They actually have a little better morale than your natural elephant dudes, and you can kind of get a lot of them, especially if you have high nature. So they're okay. They tend to kind of route. They have all the problems elephants do, but there's definitely they're pretty mage turn efficient. So you get 5 of them plus 1 for each magic path above the very low cost of 2 nature. So like your rishis would get 6 or 7 depending on if they got if they have any items on them. But for 25 nature gems, it can be good in a pinch. I wouldn't rely on it, but if you're getting rushed and you need it, and you think elephants would be good against who's rushing you, it's definitely an option. You also get tigers. Tigers are kind of high damage units, so if you have... And these are pretty high attack. So if you're getting rushed by high defense units, these guys can be okay. They have better morale than elephants. They'll die really quickly, but sometimes if you just need some pretty high attack, high damage things to kill water, like defense-based units, these can be okay. Now we'll get into the actual commanders. You get the Yakasha and the Yaksha, I'm sorry, and the Yakshini. And they're both 25 gold, so let's pull each of those up. This is the Yaksha, and they have 3 earth. I can't remember if there's a random in here, but this particular one has 3 earth. And these are your most reliable way to get earth mages. Unfortunately, they still cost gold upkeep, as quite a few of your units do. Since this is a unit you can get in early age Kalisa. A lot of times when they do a summon that is the same unit as you can recruit in a different age, you'll have a gold cost tied to it. So that kind of sucks, but anyway, this is your best earth access for this nation. And you can do lots of cool stuff with earth. Again, add strength and destroy armor, which is very good for your shitty troops. Then we have the Yakshini, which is basically the same thing but with water. So if you need water access, for whatever reason you don't have it, because your Rishi can get water, but they'll only be water 1, you can... Your Rishi can cast both of these, and basically from this point on, once you get one of each, you'll have pretty high earth and pretty high water. So a lot of times you'll only cast one of these, and then you'll put them on site searching to go get your water site searched well, or then to summon all the Naga stuff. But these are where you want to sink probably most of your nature gems. And yeah, that's basically it. Herd of Buffaloes is the only other one. Buffaloes are kind of interesting. They're size 5 tramplers. They have very good morale, and they go berserk, so they don't really run like elephants do. They don't have as good a protection. Yeah, so they're kind of cool. In terms of cost, the elephants were about 5 gems per elephant, and these guys are only about 2 gems. So I would say they're probably better bets than elephants because they'll route less, though they do have worse protection. Certainly you can imagine using some of these cost efficiently once you get mass protection up or something like that to take care of their really low protection issue. And I think, yeah, we are done with most of the monkey and Naga summons. There's a few miscellaneous death summons I'll cover real quick. You get these guys, which are... Okay, you get Ganas and you get Vetlas. The... which one's which? Okay. Let's see if we can find out which one's which here. So the... Did I not get both? Okay, these are Ganas. Where the hell are my Vetlas? Did I not summon any? Okay, we're going to talk about Ganas real quick. Basically, they're ethereal chaff. They get a spectral shield, so they're basically like Lemuria. They're like Lemurian ghosts. They're pretty good against raiding province defense. If you have enough of them, like if you cast it twice, they would be a good little raiding party led by a Mound King. That might be a little tricky to counter. That would be what you would do maybe if... Oh, here they are. If you have a lot of extra death gems. But you can also get these guys, which are kind of better. Possessed Courses. These are your Vetlas. And yeah, they're pretty cool because they have 2 forms. They have this form, which is not ethereal, right? It's high HP, decent protection, high damage unit. And it's vulnerable to banishment. If they die, though, they become an ethereal dude. Who I think loses the protection, but gains ethereal. Pretty cost efficient. It only costs 10, it's 1 gem per, whereas these are about 2 per gem. But these will do significantly more damage and tend to kind of endure more. So these are definitely the better gem investment over Ganas, but they're higher in research. And then finally we get to the blood summons. Now, the blood summon, so if you can break well into blood, you'll be in good shape. The problem is it's very hard to break into blood. It was easier in Dominions 4 because the main unit you would use to basically do your blood hunting once you broke into it is you would use Dakinis. And Dakinis used to be really cheap. They used to be like 40 or 60 blood slaves. I can't remember. Not very much. Now they're 80, which is kind of a lot. It means your Dakinis are not going to multiply very quickly. Because 1 Dakini is probably, like a blood 3-person with a Sanguine Dowsing Rod is probably going to need to blood hunt for like 6 months or more. Probably more. Probably like 7 or 8 months to have enough blood slaves to make another Dakini. So if you get your first one by the time, by turn 30, then, and they each start replicating, by the time you get to like turn 60, you could have a handful of them. You could have like 10. But that's not a lot of units for turn 60. And to do that, you're going to have to go pretty deep into blood magic. I think they're blood 6. There are reasons you may want to do it. One is if you expect the game is going to go really late, it can be a fun thing to do. The second is they're an awesome chassis. They can just do really cool stuff. They can cloud trapeze and kill things, so pretty cool. And also, one of the reasons you may want to break into blood is strength. Rush of Strength, where are you? Trust me, it's here somewhere. I think it's here somewhere. We'll just do it from here. Okay, here it is. I think it's Blood 8. And this gives +4 strength to everybody on the battlefield, including your monkeys. So that's the main reason, in my opinion, you would want to go into blood. It used to be when they were cheaper, they would scale much more quickly. So if you got Dakinis early enough, you could have a very strong blood economy. Here it's going to be very, very hard to have a strong blood economy unless you find a random blood mage from like an indie site or something like that. If you find that, then you're your money. You can have a big blood economy and lots of Dakinis, which would be great. If you can't, the real reason I think you would go Dakinis, because you already have air access, they're not giving you much death, is to be able to cast Rush of Strength, which is really, really good for your monkeys, especially the ones that have sticks and stones. The other summons you get all the Lanka summons. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about these because I don't think they're very central to the strategy. I think if you find indie blood mages, you can do these. If you don't, you're basically probably not going to get any of the troop summons. But you get these guys, the Pargasas, which are naked, they're pretty cheap, and they hit really hard, and they're sacred. All these guys are sacred. You get the Rakshasa warrior. It's kind of weird. When you're talking on YouTube, you think about how to actually pronounce it. I have like a way I would say it, but it's totally wrong, so I was working through it again. These guys are awesome. They hit super duper hard, and they have okay armor. They're weak to fire, though, so something to take note of. They have chaos power, too, which I think these guys may have had also. Yeah, so if you're attacking in chaos, which is more likely now in Dominions 5 than it was in 4, they get extra good. Yeah, they're also demons, so they can see in the night. You also get Rakshasas, not the warriors. They basically have 2 claws. So in some ways they can do more damage than their kin, but they have no armor. They're also very cheap. They're cheaper than the warriors, but we'll look real quick at them. So they're 10 gold for 3. I mean 10 blood slaves for 3, so about 3 per. Whereas these guys are about 5 per, but they're more mage turn efficient. Then these are kind of the elite troops you can get. They're more weak to fire, which is kind of interesting. But they have dark power, so if you're going to be putting up darkness, they get extra strong. And they have chaos power, so if you're in either turmoil lands or lands with a lot of unrest plus darkness, they're quite strong. And of course they're sacred, so they also get a bless. They have very good base stats as well. And they have a magic weapon too, so if you're fighting troops that are going to be mist-formed or ethereal or something like that, they are very good for that purpose, but they're far more expensive than our Rakshasa warriors. They are basically 10 per instead of 5 per, so usually these are far more efficient to get than having basically half as many for the same amount of slaves as you would get with the Sandiabala, or however you say it. The next blood summon we can get, and if I ever do a video for Lanka, which is a nation I really like, I'll come back and talk about these in far more detail, is the Devanas, and these are really good. They're expensive. We'll see how expensive they are. You get, I think, 3 of them for the low price of 25 per, so 75. And where the hell did I put you? Okay, so here they are. They're these huge giants. They have 90 HP. Very good attack and defense stats. Okay, not great protection. But they have fear, which is very good on a high HP chassis. They're weak to fire. They have awesome weapons, like really good weapons. They have Halt Sacred on each of them. So they're going to destroy sacred super combatants or elite troops. They have chaos power. So you can imagine if they're in Chaos 3, or like Turmoil 3, they're going to get +6 to these stats. It will be quite scary, especially with a good bless. Oh, there's one I didn't talk about. Another summon is the Asrapa. And these are kind of cool. They're cheap. I think they're only like 3. We'll check. I think they're like 3 blood slaves per. Yeah, a little more, like 3.5 per. And so they're cheaper than these Rakshasa warriors. And what's kind of cool about them is they get this life-stealing attack, which is a magic weapon. So if you're fighting somebody with magic weapons, they're good. They also have a kick. So they're going to be fatigue neutral, so they can do really well in a long fight. They also go berserk, so they're never going to rout. So these couple things can make them actually quite good. The big thing you have to deal with is they don't have any armor. So you're going to be looking for a way to buff their armor if you want to use them, otherwise they'll kind of die too quickly. But if you have a way to do that, these guys are actually pretty damn good. What's cool for these last 2 I talked about, the Devana and then also for the Asrapa, you can Gift of Reason them or do Divine Name on them, which basically will take a normal unit and turn it into a commander. If you do that, you get some kind of cool units. If you do it with this guy, the Asrapa, you get a commander that already comes with Blood 1, H1. And this is actually a kind of cool weapon, so you could potentially thug these guys out by giving them, you know, like some cheap heavy earth armor and a shield, and they'll be pretty good. They'll do okay raiding provinces. Though, by the time you've done that, because Gift of Reason and Divine Name are not cheap, yeah, it may not be worth it. Probably better to go ahead and get one of the Astral Summons before you cast Divine Name on them, but I'll just show you it anyway. And then finally, these Devanas, you can Gift of Reason them, and then they get to be a Holy 2, and they get... you basically have access to this great super combatant chassis. They get a 50% chance at blood, but they get that twice, so they can get up to blood 2. And the same thing for air. They get a 50% chance at air, which they can get up to 2. So potentially, if you get really lucky, you could be blood 2, air 2. Though it's kind of more likely that you're going to be, like, get maybe 2 magic paths total. But they can self-bless, and these are really good. I wonder if any of these are two-handed. I don't know. So yeah, you can put a shield on them, and that's going to dramatically increase their survivability and maybe give them a hat or better armor. And this is certainly a chassis that would warrant it. And for the low cost of like 20 pearls, you get a very, very, very good chassis. So this is definitely something to consider as you're looking for super combatant chassis later in the game. These guys will be an absolute nightmare to try to kill. Especially if you have any way of giving them regeneration. They can be very, very hard to kill. So this is something you would consider doing Divine Name on. And finally, maybe my favorite unit in the game, at least in terms of lore and theory, are the Mandehas, which are just amazing. Not only do they have great paths, Air Death is really fun. You can do tons of fun stuff. They're Holy 3. So, they also have a sleep aura, which is kind of unique to them. They'll put units around them if they fail a magic resistance check, and they will fall asleep. So in some ways, this kind of works like a Vine Shield, which is pretty cool. They cause unrest, but by the time you get that, you won't really care about this. Chaos Power, which is kind of good or bad. They're weak to fire, so usually you want to buff their fire resistance, but they're resistant to lightning. Now, playing Bandar Log, you're already going to have good air access. You may have trouble having good death access, so this may be an okay way to give you slightly better death. They're quite expensive. I think you're going to have 5 blood and 2 death, so this will give you 1 higher death, so it can be kind of a way to break into death. But they're so expensive. It's blood 8 and 133 slaves. If you have a strong blood economy, like let's say you recruited a lot of these demons, this is the guy you want to have leading it, because the thing I haven't said, which is the coolest thing about them, is they automatically are going to start off the battle with Darkness Cast, which is huge. It's really huge. It's going to basically really drop all the stats of everybody you're fighting. You get Dark Power, so this guy's stats get better. And then any of your other dudes are going to have better stats too. Oh, I missed one guy. This guy is basically like your Semeneshada, however you say it. It's an assassin, which is a lot like... It's basically a commander version of these guys. He's got another weapon, but he's an okay assassin. I don't really think he's cost efficient. I'd rather... You have to put gear on him to make him better, and by the time you do that, I'd rather just do a black card on a mage. But anyway. But yeah, so these guys are super good. You're probably not going to want to make them unless you're trying to break into death, or unless you found blood mages and you have a really strong blood economy. If you do that, you're in good shape. But that's always kind of a roll of the dice. So, almost 40 minutes, and we've covered all of the national troops, I think. Yeah. And all of the commanders. So, thank you all for watching. Actually, before I say that, let's do a quick overview of these summons, because there's a lot of them. You basically have Astral Summons, which are your best, and they're pretty damn cost efficient. Astral Pearls are like a hard narcotic for you. You need as many of them as you can get, so you definitely want to get out site searching. And they're so valuable to you that you probably don't want to be doing things like arcane probing. Like, you don't want to be wasting pearls on remote site searching, whereas sometimes you would. You really want an Astral 3 mage to just, like a Rishi, to go out and just do the walk of shame and search for everything. And you may even want to take like a yogi and have them go around and find all the Astral 1 sites, and then later, when you have one of these guys, have him come around and find all the other Astral sites. I mean, because you need literally every single pearl you can get, even if you're going to be wasting some mage turns. So these are your best summons, and you need as many of these as you can get. You've got your nature summons, which are super good, where you're going to want to sink most of them into the Yaksha. If you can keep Mother Roke up, you can get a ton of these, which would be super duper valuable. Next, we have our water summons, which are basically going to struggle to get you into the water, and they will also give you some good path access, like especially with this mage. But this is if you want to plan a trip into the water, and then also to help you climb the water ladder. And you also get a good, this is a good Earth Mage too. And I think we covered, yeah, so it's water, nature, astral. You have a few kind of unique death summons, and then you have blood. Blood, you're going to kind of either lightly go into with Dakini for some key battlefield spells, or you're going to have randomed into a lucky indie mage that can do blood hunting, and then you might potentially go full Lanka and go for all of the troops, etc. So yeah, I think that's basically an overview of the summons. Astral Gems are crack, blood is situational, nature you need a lot of, and you're going to be putting them all probably into this guy, and then the water is kind of nice to have. With that, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't put you to sleep, and I hope you're excited for this coming YouTuber Disciples game. And hopefully I'll have the next episode. The next episode will be the Pretender design, but after that I hope we have the next episodes where the actual game takes place very soon. Thank you all.